Well, we went north, and I followed my daddy got on the railroad in a section, and I followed, of course, I went on the railroad.
I came up north to work in Scriber in the YMCA. I worked there as night secretary. The rush was on, shipping grain during the First World War. Grain trains were almost unblocked. That's every 20 minutes. Everybody was making quite a bit of money, so I went firing on the railroad then. It was quite an experience, the old-fashioned way, the old steam engines, and had to shovel coal and stretch your backbones about as far as you could to reach for the coal and then shoot it in. And you had to place the coal in the right place too, or else you'd build up a green lump of coal, and pretty soon you wouldn't have any steam. You'd have all coal and no steam. After burning the hot poker, you had to spread this coal, this green coal then. They call it green because it's not burning. You spread it, and then I put the hot poker down on a cap and burnt the cap up, and then I burnt my hand a great big circle on my hand as big as a 50-cent piece. Of course, you don't see a 50-cent piece now, so you don't know how big that is.
No, I started on there in 38, but there's so many things that have happened on there. I could start with a real cold one, work in Oba for 8 hours at 72 below zero, and then never did get our train out of there because we couldn't get it moving. The grease in the journals on the end of the axles had frozen up so tight that we could move a couple of cars at a time and take them up and run them up and down the main line, set them on the caboose. This was on freight service. Then go back and get a couple more. By the time you got about 8 or 10 cars sitting on the main line, you couldn't move those, and you'd have to take them apart again. And we worked for 8 hours there. So we started out in the morning with 72 below zero.
Well, that was good railroading. Railroading was a joy. You'd freeze to death on one side and cook on the other if you're on an engine. Actually burn yourself. You're that tight against the boiler in a brakeman seat in the old days. This leg would be burnt and this side would be frozen to the wall.
And another time we went into Hearst, I was a junior brakeman at the time, so I was working head in, lighting the engine. And this was steam engine day. The engineer and the fireman and myself, we took turns firing the engine, hand-fired engine, keep warm. And the other two would be laying up over the boiler head. It was that cold. No other protection, just curtains, flapping curtains on the side of the engine. Oh boy. Cold, get into Hearst there, that was an awfully cold place. But it's a dry cold. Same thing with Oba, you're right up, you're up in the great clay belt up there. And a little bit of wind there just cuts the heart right out of you.
Well, I could tell you lots of experience about that too. At Nipigon here, I was taking water from the water tank, and there's a big spout leads the water into the tender. From the water tank, you stand on the standpipe. You stand on the spout, which bobs up and down. You stand on it to hold it down because the water shoots out this way, straight out, and liable to bounce it up. And there's chains there holding this pipe. But as you pull the rope, that lets the water flow. You see. Well, I only weighed 129 pounds at that time. As I pulled on the rope, my feet went up in the air. And the spout kept bouncing up and down, and I looked down and I thought, if I fell, where would I go? And all of a sudden, away went the spout out this way, and I fell in the water tank. Just my arms were there. Well, this is the middle of the winter. Well, I came out just an icicle altogether. So then I had to go firing, and one side was burning up and the other side was freezing, and well, I had a pretty bad cold after that. I had pneumonia after that, but that was all experience. See, young people do make mistakes, don't they?
Oh, there's all kinds of stories. We've had babies born on the train. Yes, we had one little Indian girl coming down from Cotton Harbor, and she had their baby on the train. We picked up 2 ladies at Freighter to help out. The superintendent wouldn't let us put her off the train to a motor car. We had a Chev station wagon on the track there, you know. We wanted to send her back to the hospital at Hog Junction. It was only 60 miles away, and she was 103 miles from the Sioux. But he wouldn't go for it. So we got these 2 women to help if anything happened before we got to the Sioux. This little girl left it just a little too long. It was the old wooden coaches that we had. The smoking compartment was separate to the car itself. It was just like a box set in the car. Got her in there and partitioned off the doorway with blankets. And she had the baby. And of all people to deliver the child was the cook. The women were no use to him at all. I didn't know about this at all. I was working in the baggage car till the conductor come rushing in. Oh, he was all dilly. No, he was all flustered, all the pieces. He said, quick, he said, give me the first aid kit. got him first aid kit. He rummaged through it. No good, he says, no safety pins in it. He says, this is a woman back there going to have a baby. I said, now you tell me. He got safety pins, that was it. I got the safety pins for him. Then he wanted to know if there was any thread in there. I said, no, there's no thread in the first aid kit. Well, he said, got to have some. Got to have some. And he told me what was happening, what he wanted it for, you see, to tie the cord on. Well, I don't know where you're going to get it. Go canvass the train, I guess. So he went back through the train and he asked everybody if they happened to have a spool of thread. Coming back, he hadn't had any luck going up. And coming back, why, this trapper stopped him. He said, what do you want some thread for, Jack? Well, he said, going up there in the nice car having a baby. He said, you got to have some thread there to tie that darn cord off. Oh, sure. He said, I got some thread. He said, why didn't you tell me before? He got his pack sack down, dumped it out in the middle of the aisle, went through everything. There you are. What do you want, black or white? He said, I got both. The baby was born about 70 miles out of the Sioux. So they named the baby after the conductor, John, and James, the engineer.
Speaking of moving one chair to another, it reminds me of a story on freight. We used to get an awful lot of passengers that traveled on freight from Oba to Hearst, etc. And we had a really pretty little school teacher get on there one day to get up in the cubicle and sat opposite to me. Braden was sitting on the other side. It got later, towards dark, we stopped at Hale to set off some empties. Well, she said, why, there's nothing around here. Why would you be stopping here? Well, I said, there's an old mad trapper that lives back in the bush there. And I said, they're setting off some stuff up there for him. Oh, why would he live there? Well, I said, just mad. He hates people and everything. He don't want to be out at all. So I slipped down below and I put a torpedo right in front of the front wheel of the van and one right behind. It's a loud explosion. It's for bringing attention to a case of an emergency.
On the back.
So in the cubicle you have seats that sit right across the part like this. You can almost play easy with anybody that's sitting across from you. So anyway, I come back up after placing these two torpedoes down there and set opposite her. I said, oh, I sure hope that engineer don't whistle. She said, why? Well, I said, if he whistles, that makes the old guy mad, and he starts shooting at the train right away. Naturally, whenever they start ahead, they always whistle. This is a must, eh? So, as soon as he's ready to go, he whistles, toot, toot. As soon as the train starts to move, I said, doggone him! Bang goes this explosion, you know. He jumped up, bang! She jumped right away, and he was hanging on to the
The worst was the old steam engine, the window used to freeze. It'd be steam leaks, you know. Many this time I froze, oh boy, up there. So cold, you know. I used to get so cold, you used to have to keep the window closed, open, you know, to watch, so I'd see, you know, because I knew the fellow was ahead of me. Freight train, you know. And the first thing I know, bang, there's the van.
You think you're never going to get stopped. The whole thing, from the time we derailed till we were stopped, we didn't go very far because we just plowed right down the bank and turned over. We had a steam engine, a baggage car, a diner, and a coach. The coach stayed upright. It derailed at the front, back, and stayed on. But the car I was in turned over on its side, went down this about 10 or 15 feet, and slid down there and lay on its side. And the baggage car was on its side, but the engine was right side up. I was sitting at the table in the diner. Well, I was talking to the cook. He was standing in the aisle, and all at once the air went. I just hollered at him, grab something. So he just reached back and grabbed the arm of the seat. And I braced myself against the seat ahead and hung onto the table, but it just pulled me right out of there, and I backed out of through 2 panes of glass, and I was sitting in the snow. And all that happened to me, I got a cut on my nose from a salt shaker that came on flying over from the other side. Everything fell over from the other side. Well, the ketchup spilled all over me, and they thought I was really hurt. But all I got was just this little wee cut on my nose. But the next morning I knew it. I was covered with bruises the size of a dinner plate. And I watched the cook there. It's something that always amazed me. He was a pretty good-sized man. He timed that just perfectly. He was standing on the floor in the aisle, and he reached back behind him and grabbed the seat, the arms of the seat. And as the car was rolling over, he just let it go so far, and then he let go. And I don't think that he changed position at all. He remained in that same upright position. But when the car stopped, he was standing up in the baggage rack, and he was still upright. And the lucky thing he was out there, because the kitchen all collapsed.
It was good fun. It was everybody worked in a hurry. People all took pride in their jobs. I don't know. It was much better railroading in those days.
Up at Search Mount, Bob Beck, he'd come over to the train there and meet the train day and night. He had a guitar he made out of a cigar box and a piece of wood, one string on it, and he'd stand out there beside the train and plunk away at that thing and try to sing. His cabin had a door and a hole in the roof. And he burned old tires. That was what he burned for fuel.
Back 42, I think I threw my first switch. So I lost half my life. I do. That's the only regret I have. You're away from home so much that I figure that I donated half of my life strictly to the railroad. And this is donated, I mean, because you don't get paid for this time you're away. For many, many years, for example, we used to leave home on Saturday night and come back home Monday night. And we never got paid from the 6 o'clock Saturday night till we went to work 7 o'clock Monday morning. That's the way we live.
Layover.
And it's still the same way.
Oh, it was good. I used to like to travel at night with the headlights shining, you know, and on all the icicles on the hills, and you'd see a moose or a deer crossing sometimes, and sometimes see a wolf running down the track and blow the whistle and scare him away. And if he didn't get out of the way, well, he just that was the end of it.
We were in the head-on with a big bull moose one time. He wouldn't give us the right-of-way. The cow moose left the track, but he wouldn't. He just put his head down and he charged us head-on. We were running about 35 miles an hour, and he was full speed when he hit us. It was moose from one end of the engine to the other. He just blew apart. We saw it coming. The engineer and the fireman and I, we get in behind the boiler head. There's nothing we could do about it. He wouldn't get off the track. He just put his head down, pawed the tires, and then lit out after us, head on.
I figured this was about the finest place in all of America. Yeah. I remember one time I was coming in, going.
You've no idea how peaceful that place is.
Many
That's the place I
times
dreamed of all my
when I
life,
was
getting
on the
something like that.
lake.
Near water where I
see
could
just
go
wild.
out to the lake. Wanted a place where I get in a boat and go out to the lake and fish.
Beautiful
I
place.
go to all these islands, and I even bought a
No,
Of course,
I definitely have been here all my life, and this is my home, and I have no
set up a...
desire to leave. I've been here 81 years. It's home. My business
Well, I
is
don't
here.
know.
This is the
Think I
country
would.
we
Not
live
now, anyway. But of course, I'm past worrying
I like
about
the north.
those things,
I don't
you
like
know.
the
You
heat
get to
in
be
the
there.
south. I can't stand the heat. I like fresh air, and I like the snow. I hate the dampness down there. I do have some
My
arthritis.
friends from off the island say I've taken root. Unlike a tumbleweed, I'm rooted here. I like to be where I can see water and sky and trees without having to do any more than look out any of my windows.
All my life I've been balled out, balled up and held down just because I'm small. I've been bulldozed, blackjacked, walked on, cheated, squeezed, pressed down, stuck up for war tax, poll tax, sales tax, sin tax, and carpet tax. Asked to buy Liberty bonds, baby bonds, bonds, and matrimony bonds. Asked to join the Red Cross, the Blue Cross, the Green Cross, Double Cross, and Crisscross. Asked to help the Society of John the Baptist, Women's Relief Corps, Men's Relief, and Stomach Relief. I've worked like hell, traveled hill and dell, tried to tell and sell. I've been wired and fired and mired, tired and retired. Nearly lost all I had, burnt out 3 times, poisoned twice, neck broken once. And now because I won't spend all the little I earn and go borrow, beg, and steal, I've been held up, robbed, and punched, and damn near ruined. I've been soaked, boiled, stewed, and roasted and toasted, knocked down, picked up, locked up, propped up, had the measles, mumps, and chicken pox. Now I've joined the Senior Citizen Silver Club to see what's coming next.
The North Shore boys are all in line from lake and wood and forest and mine. We're out on a trip to cross the Rhine. For men of the North are we. We're here, we're here, we're here, we're here. For men of the North are we.